Hello and welcome to Tech Town,
Season
2, Episode 25.
That's right. Quarter century
of
season
this
2.
season.
That's true. We've done half a century at least.
Yeah, we usually kind of just stop sometime right before the summer. So the penultimate episode is coming up.
That's right. Watch out.
Yeah, that's right. So we're going to talk all things tech here. I'm Mr. Ellsberg. This is our town wizard.
Boom.
And we're going to talk all things technology in deportes or sports.
Sports, that's right. If you had listened to our previous ones, you could get a translator app that could translate what you just said so people would know. That's the previous one. Okay. So yeah, sports, technology, sports, they have been merged nicely these days. And so let's talk about a bunch of the ways that they're doing it. Some ways that are just kind of futuristic or things that you never thought were possible. And then some of them are things that we can use ourselves to make ourselves better at sports or keep track of our fitness levels.
Yeah. There's all sorts of cool things and where they're integrated to improve what is going on. And sports are so, you know, a lot of them are supposed to be, they're in such a vacuum.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's the hoop is always this high, the touchdown's always this far.
Yeah.
And so you can have all these tech things to make sure that everything is exactly precise.
It's interesting because you're right. It's a vacuum in a way that like they don't want it to change sometimes. So like technology sometimes goes against what they're talking about because they don't want to change this 400-year-old game, 200-year-old game. But there are some times where you can tell it actually does need a little bit of help. So we'll explore that.
Yeah.
All right, bring it on. Okay, so first things first. Let's talk about a few different sports and then how each one is getting a little help from technology. So let's talk some baseball. Baseball season has started, and I don't know if you're playing any baseball yet yourself, but at least the major leagues are because they play about a zillion games a year.
Yep.
So one thing I thought was cool is this this example of how they have put microphones all over the fields to capture the sounds of baseball. So when you're watching the game, and you'll see this in basketball games, you'll see this in football games, everywhere they have this audio mix that I bet most people probably don't even think about, but it's incredible because you can hear the crowd, you can hear the balls like bouncing, or if someone's sliding into the plate. In baseball, you can hear the sliding, you can hear the announcers, but it's not all overpowering.
Right.
You hear just kind of the right amount of each one. Yeah. Or like when you're making a free throw in basketball, they have that hoop swish sound.
That's a great sound.
It is a sweet sound, especially when it goes in. This is the baseball version of it, but you can just tell how much goes on into this. So first of all, they lay all these cables that they need to get throughout the whole stadium. They have this wireless routing station that it's, and all of this is like top of the line stuff. It's not just a wireless router. It's like the most ultimate high speed, you know, it can handle everything. Home plate. They have 3 microphones positioned in boxes, padded boxes that are camouflaged to look like part of the stadium. Right. You know, they don't want to like ruin the looks of things either. So you can see they like hide this little microphone in there.
It's like having the giant fake rocks on the side of your house to hide your
keys or your
what's your air conditioning system and stuff.
Oh, the big rocks. Oh, okay, yeah. Or those tree cell phone towers that like look like trees. Exactly. You got to trick people into thinking it's not technology. Yeah. So the bases in baseball have battery-powered wireless microphones, but to keep base runners from kicking the receivers, the heads are aimed at the outfield. So that's the thing, is not only do you put a microphone there, it has to be the right kind of microphone and not like ruined by when the base runners come and just like smash it. So bullpens, they've got those mic'd up. They've got crowd noise, these kind of special mics that are aimed. I thought the crowd noise one is interesting because when you go to a baseball game or any sports game, you can hear the one guy who's like loud and obnoxious and swearing. They don't really, they can avoid that somehow. They're changing things up. They're filtering it out. They're putting the microphone in just a place where you kind of hear the ambient crowd noise, but you don't hear the one annoying guy, which is impressive.
And sometimes what they'll do too is they'll show the big events on a little bit of a delay. Yeah. That's so that they can, if somebody says something that they don't want to air, all of a sudden you'll just hear like a glitch, like a mute.
Yeah. Like that's true, if they can catch it, and then sometimes they can't catch it.
Yeah, sometimes you get a nip slip.
Yeah, that's true, an audio nip slip. So and they have ones on the warning track in the outfield. So They have manned parabolic mics. So these are the ones where they have like those dishes. I don't know if you've seen them on like the football sidelines. These dishes, they're pointing at people. And those are like directed microphones that really catch what they're watching. The foul poles have microphones. The players have microphones. This says 3 or 4 players per game may opt to wear a wireless microphone if they want. Right. So this is the kind of thing where this is an amazing operation that they got going on just to bring you this sound that you probably took for granted or didn't even think about. So I think that's a cool way where sports, it's not being ruined by technology. It's not really changing the game for the players, hopefully. But it really brings it to the viewer, and so they can hear it better.
Right. It really brings the experience to your home, which is really cool.
So another one for baseball, and I have another one later for basketball, which is an app that you can get on your own phone to be able to improve your own skills. So if you want to be a better baseball player, maybe you're in Little League, maybe you're just a little bit older in the softball league or something, they have apps that won't, not just like showing you a picture, but will analyze how you're doing it.
Wow.
So it'll show you at your swing, your bat speed, your hand speed, time to impact. They have a lot of these things that it can measure. And they have pros that you can like sort of Skype with that will tell you how you're doing. So this is the side of things where if you want to improve your own skills, the technology can help you.
Right. And the nice thing is like, so, I mean, this is the cool part about tech in general, is that if you're Joe Schmo in the middle of backcountry Omaha somewhere, can't get to the experts, this can really, support that.
Exactly. Right.
You don't have a coach.
Right.
Can help you out.
And I think what's cool is that it's like the next step after what we already have, which is great, which is like YouTube. So you can learn a lot of baseball information on YouTube. You just go and you look up the video.
Right.
And that's way better than we had before because you maybe never had access to anybody.
Right.
Now we have a little more interactive. So it's not just YouTube, someone's telling everybody what to do.
Right.
This app can help you specifically. So how you're doing, how your swing is.
Right.
So that's kind of one more step in more personalized help.
Very cool.
So yeah, and I remember even just the simpler version of this. I had when I was a kid, I just had the like bouncing net that you could throw the ball at.
Yeah.
So you just throw the baseball at this, you try to hit the target zone, and it would bounce right back to you because it's a little net on a spring.
Right.
That would happen most of the time, maybe half the time. And then the other half of the time, it would bounce way off somewhere crazy, or I would miss the thing and just throw it into the other person's yard. Yeah. So it was a good baby step.
That's great. Yeah, I had the one where it was a multiple. You could do golf, baseball, anything into the net.
Oh yeah.
But I used it to kick footballs into.
That's right. Yeah.
So then I wouldn't have to go get the footballs.
That's right. That's a good idea too. Yeah. We should give a shout out to those anyway. Do people still get those things?
Yeah. Probably. They've got it. Yeah. Then you don't have to go run.
Right. See, and that can work with the app too. It's not mutually exclusive. You have that thing so your ball doesn't go into the neighbor's yard all the time. And then you have the app to tell you how you did.
Right. And so football's got a lot of different technologies.
Oh, football, definitely. So football's one of the, I'd say, pioneers of technology. So here's a website that has 10 cool football technologies that they list off all sorts of them. So there's some that are like helmet sensors. There are some that are first down lines that are cool. So if you've seen football on TV, then you'll see that their first down lines is like yellow on the thing. And obviously they're not painting a yellow line on the field every single time. They're doing that with computers. But that's incredible. So they have this system of cameras that can tell where the players are, where the field is, and then be able to virtually draw that yellow line, which is incredible.
Right.
So
and so what you would have in maybe hockey, a lot of times is it's hard to follow the puck. So they highlight the puck, even so when it goes behind the boards, you can see it.
Yeah, exactly. And I know there's been a little bit of pushback toward the hockey one specifically. So I think a lot of times they stop doing the hockey thing. But whatever it is, they have the ability to now overlay things on the field. So here's some, so like some of them are just talking about the stadiums, and they have ridiculous stadiums with retractable roofs. And green grass that retracts. That was one of the stadiums. Giant screens. Here's the Seahawks stadium where it has crowd noise that
crushes.
Yeah, crushes, exactly. And it's this one I want to mention. The crowd noise from here is legitimate good crowd noise because the fans are so loud. Sometimes, which we'll talk about, that crowd noise is not so real.
Right.
So yeah, so then there's helmet sensors and these yellow line things. So the yellow line things are, I think, actually a really great one. The hockey one I'm not so into. I mean, it's okay.
Right.
But those yellow lines I just now have come to depend on because you can really see where the line of scrimmage is and where the first down line is. Right. They do get a little trickier sometimes when they talk about, they can put advertisements on the field where you thought they were painted on, but they're not.
Right.
So, you know, in the middle of the field, you're pretty sure that Colts logo is painted on the field, but sometimes these advertisements aren't actually
it says 3rd and 10
accumulated, and or maybe this last hit was really, really bad. So
right. And that's something too that you know, you could argue back and forth. And some people say that one of the reasons that there are so many injuries in football is because players have a false sense of security when it comes to having these extra technologies of helmets and pads and protections around them. When they say, well, if they didn't, then you know, you wouldn't go spear somebody just with your head.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point, right? Because we feel like helmets and pads were great because they now protected the people. But you're right. If you don't have helmets and pads, you play a little bit differently. You know, you would maybe not head ram crush so hard. Another example, I think, is boxing, where previously they didn't have boxing gloves, and there was less brain injury because once you kind of got bloodied up, you would be done. You'd stop.
Your hand would start to bust.
Yeah, your hand would bust. Now with boxing gloves, your hand doesn't hurt, so you can punch that much harder and that much longer and maybe worse results. So I think part of it is gaining the technology to be able to have these sports be bigger and badder, but then somehow getting more technology to then kind of bring it back and make it safer. Right. We'll see.
Yeah.
So, all right. So what do we got? We got basketball. So I have in the show notes, which you can see below the video description, an app to improve your basketball skills, just like the baseball one. So it can help analyze your shot and all that. I'm kind of curious. I haven't used these apps yet. So if you or anybody out there uses these apps, let me know. Because the promise sounds cool, but I can't tell if maybe it's glitchy and like you're swinging and it's like you swung upside down.
Right.
It's like, no, I didn't. Yeah. So I'm curious if they actually work.
And one of the cool things about basketball, at least with the Portland connection, is that the Blazers were one of the first teams to start using iPads.
That's right.
On the sidelines.
Yeah, on the sidelines, right. So they would have live video and live or not live, but replays from that specific game right there before they were done with the game, so they could learn from it.
Right.
Previously,
so
instead
of the coach drawing X's on a board and saying this is where you need to be, you can just say like, this is where you were and you messed up.
Yeah, exactly right. You just got schooled right here. Watch. Yeah. So and hopefully they don't get too entertained because then they'll just watch the game, and not play. You got to finish the game, man. So another one that NBA is being progressive on is the Apple Watch. So I'm guessing maybe they have some sort of deal with Apple because of these things. But they said about 20 different teams are having some sort of Apple Watch app for their teammates. So it's that they can stay in touch with each other and that they can have plays on their watches. I'm not quite sure how they're actually going to use it. I think it's at first more of let's just try to figure out how it could be useful.
Right.
But yeah, look out for those NBA guys having those Apple Watches.
Very true. And which goes on to soccer. My big team's playing today. Barcelona.
All right.
They're playing Bayern Munich.
Okay. And do they have the technology to win the game?
I think so. I think it is through a bunch of money at the best players.
Okay,
so
well, there you go.
Yeah, that's basically
technology. Yeah, so the real technologies here are money and legs.
Yeah.
So if you got those, then you'd be pretty good. All right, so goal line cameras in soccer have been a big recent one. And so in the last World Cup, that was a big deal because there are some times when the referee would either call a goal that wasn't a goal or not call a goal that was a goal. And soccer has been pretty resistant to technology. You know, it's one of the ones that's mainly let's not have technology.
Yeah.
We don't want instant replays. We don't want, it's just a ball on the ground and you're kicking it.
It's one of the oldest, most popular team sports. So just like baseball, in a lot of ways, the pushback against change, you know, because well, what does this record mean?
Yeah.
You know, what do these things mean in context? You know, if things are different now.
It's true. Yeah. Someone who has the most goals, maybe that was before they had the score me a goal technology where everybody scores goals all the time.
Yeah.
So what does that record
Or
mean?
before they knew that smoking a pack of cigarettes a day is.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's true. They should get boosts on their record for like lack of technology or knowledge.
Yeah, smoking cigarettes at halftime.
Exactly. Performance
taking shots.
Enhancing drugs. So with the goal line cameras, I have a little link to some of the videos that show how they do it, and it's pretty cool. They had this German company made this system of these high definition cameras that are all placed around, and it spots and tracks that ball in 3D as it's going, and as soon as it crosses the line, they know. If you watch the video, I think it's cool. It's not just that they know; it's this sort of what they do with it.
Right.
They have that technology too, where the referee is wearing this watch that gets little vibrations or like little notifications on whether it was in or not.
Yeah.
And they have the ability to call it. So like, it's not that they stop the game for 10 minutes and review or whatever. It's just right then and there. They have someone, another person also watching to verify and like making sure it's all good. So it's this whole process of once the goal was even thought to be scored, checking it out, passing the information around, and then notifying the referee to then call back.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very, very cool.
And speaking of the German World Cup team, they, well, I don't know if I was speaking about that, but I am now. So they gathered data on themselves with using wearables. So in their practice leading up to the World Cup, they wanted to know more of how they were doing and their heart rates and how fast they were working, how much they were working.
And that's really like an omnipresent thing that's happening in a lot of different sports, where the more that they're learning just about how to gauge where their athletes are at, like you need to be pushed more, or we need to give you more rest, or you need more sleep. I mean, there's all sorts of things, big breakthroughs, at least as far as the way that they're implementing their training systems.
Yeah. So real quick, philosophical break.
Yeah.
So with these technologies, I think the three main categories I would see are, one of them is like safety.
Yeah.
I'm down with that. I mean, aside from the things we were talking about.
Right.
So I'm pretty down. Another one is being able to improve yourself. So by tracking yourself, doing these kinds of things.
Right.
How far do you want to go down that path? Like, and another one is statistics. So like Moneyball in baseball was the ability to take statistics and make a team based on these statistics rather than just your sort of emotional response of, I think this guy is better or this guy's better. So about those last two categories, is that helping? Like, are we getting better because we now know our bodies better and, we're getting to be the ultimate athletes and that we can really know statistics?
Right.
Or is that taking away from the game somehow?
Well, I think it could take away from a lot of like the improvisation of sports, because once you start getting down into the exact science of it, that this is the exact way that you should act in every situation. You start maybe losing a little bit of the artistry of sports and a little bit of, like I said, like the improvisation of sports, because like this is exactly how you should move in these kinds of situations. But I mean, that's kind of that's the crux of sports anyways. That's when you really figured it out, is exactly where you should be every time. And a lot of these players, innately kind of figure it out. But maybe these systems are going to help them a little bit better. Maybe like you said, I think they're so intertwined with health that it's kind of hard to separate them. Yeah. Because if you say like, well, you're going to want to move this way every time because it's the most efficient. Well, maybe it's the best on your knees too. Yeah, maybe it's the best on your body. Maybe you can prevent people from, dying of exhaustion. Yeah. Or, making sure that guys don't spear, in football and like can stop themselves from concussions.
So what's interesting is I feel like that is really great up to the professional level, because anybody lower than the professional level would really benefit from this. Yeah. The professionals, they kind of disregard safety things a lot of times because they need to win. Yeah. So another example is like players who get a concussion may not want to even come out of the game because they want to be in there helping their team. So at the professional level, once so much is on the line, even when you have all these things, it'd be tough to tell the person that's harder on your knees. This way is going to get you to score more goals. So which way do you go? Yeah.
And I think too, what you're doing is you're empowering the person to make that. Yeah. But, like you said, there's everything else is intertwined with it. There's fame, there's money, there's, you know, just supporting like the people that are around you and wanting to do the best for them.
And your city.
And your city and everything else that goes into it. That, you know, they've interviewed sports, maybe you say, so running backs are kind of like some of the guys that have the shortest careers. And, you know, they've interviewed them and say, hey, you know, like if you would have known that you're going to have all of these issues at the age of 50 and probably only lived to 55, would you have still done it? And a lot of them say, yeah, you know, which is, and
that's it. Yeah, that's an interesting one because like, this is a personal choice. They had hopefully a good career and, you know, maybe made really something they could have never made from themselves. And yet the rest of their life is going to be rough. So I do agree. Let's give the people the knowledge and empowerment to make the decision themselves. And then
and the big thing too is that supporting people before they kind of get to that age of adulthood, right? Is what I would say one of the biggest things. Like kids who don't know that, like, hey, you got to have a water break every once in a while here when it's ridiculously hot outside and you're training. Those things are imperative because, you know, like high school and you know, junior sports, you really got to have all that information to make sure that they're safe.
Exactly, and the pressure can still be that big, so you need to counter that. All right, so good. So one more thing just on the soccer, because I thought it was fun. This is a little more futuristic, is that they have the Robo Cup in soccer. So the Robo Cup is the robotic World Cup of soccer player guys. So here's a little picture. You can see these little guys, the Robo soccer guys. So it's every year it's gotten a little better, a little different. But the idea is that you have a team of robots that you've previously programmed. It's not like they're remote control. You're not controlling them in the moment. They're autonomous, so they're making their own decisions. And they have this league, like a special size field, special size balls, and the robot soccer teams play each other. So they're trying to pass, they're trying to, you know, so here, let's take a little quick look at the video because it's pretty fun. Oh, well, that's just pleasant. Okay, well, blank. Okay, that's a bad promotional video. You gotta show the robots play. Anyway, bottom line is it's actually pretty fun. And at first you'll think it's a little slow, like it's not like super high speed things. But as you see them getting better and better, it is amazing because there's so much going on for them to have to be able to sort of look at the ball, form team strategies, not get lost, you know, play offense and defense. So the Robo Cup 2015 is coming up. I think it is in China. In July, so everybody, let's go to China and watch the Robo Cup.
Oh man, that's great.
So next,
now we're getting into the sports for which they call extreme.
A little extreme, that's right. And we are just getting out of the skiing and snowboarding season, which is too bad. Had a good time, but might as well keep talking about it a little bit. So there's a couple of skiing and snowboarding mountain technologies that are pretty cool. One of them, airbags. So skiers can wear this like suit that's an airbag. Because some of these falls are so gnarly, you know, especially in competitive skiing and racing, where you're going so fast, and if you see them fall, they just boom, 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 boom. So having an airbag might be a pretty good idea.
And like so skiing and snowboarding, they're different in that they're not in that like here's how big the field is. You don't know you know what you're landing on every time, and I mean there's avalanche danger. There's trees out there.
I think skiing, it seems like, you know, the playing field itself is part of the game, you know. Obviously in other sports it is too, but you're probably in football gonna get 100-yard field. You're probably gonna get either grass or something like it. Skiing, man, it could be anything. So it's true, there's a lot of skiing accidents, so I'm trying to help with that. Another one is augmented reality goggles. So this is a pretty cool one. So you have ski goggles, right? But inside the goggles, there's a little projector display so that you can see different information. You can see GPS of where you are. Talk about that. You can see the speed that you're going. If other friends of yours have those same goggles, then you can see where they are. You see a little arrow towards them. Theoretically, one could see these things if one ever were to be able to purchase these, but they're super expensive. So someday we'll get to try them out. But the idea is that, you get to be going around the mountain, getting to see what's going on. I like it.
Very cool.
And also skiing apps and snowboarding apps. When I say skiing, I mean skiing and snowboarding, but I just say that because skiing's better. So, they have apps that can track that sort of thing too. So even on your phone, and I have a link in the show notes to 10 different skiing apps that are good for either just tracking your runs, tracking your speed, how many times you went up and down runs, other people who have done the same run. So a lot of good apps if you want to see more about your skiing habits.
Right, exactly. Now there's a few other links that we have below, but we're kind of starting to get around our time, but we do want to talk about some bad sports tech.
Yeah, that's true. So we mentioned some great stuff so far, and some of it's fairly helpful, some of it's professional, whatever. There's some really bad ideas out there. So a couple ones I want to highlight is fake crowd noise. So there's an article that was talking about, it was the Atlanta Falcons. They're now sentenced to lose their draft pick for using fake crowd noise.
Wow.
So out of their loudspeakers, they were like blaring crowd noise to make it seem like a bigger home field advantage and everything. No, lame. You can't be cheating. No technology, just making crowd noise.
Yeah, you can't deflate balls.
Exactly. That's an old technology.
Yeah, you can't record other people's practices.
Nope.
You can't do.
Exactly.
And one thing, like, I don't know if you've been to Blazer games, but every once in a while they'll put on defense.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, okay, we know when to cheer defense, and what they're trying to do is trying to raise the stakes in these little games. Because there's so many of them, the crowd kind of gets disenfranchised with it, you know?
Yeah, and I think Blazers almost do even better than a lot, because a lot of times they'll be like playing loud music during the offense or like really loud defense, whatever. It's like, okay, you maybe give us a little start, but then we can take it from there.
Exactly.
Okay, so another really bad one. This one was kind of just funny, and I don't think it's going to be a professional sport. So what these guys are doing is they're all wearing virtual reality goggles, so they can't see what's in front of them. What they can see is an overhead view of themselves.
Yeah.
So if you try and get to the page where they show the overhead view. So they are seeing an overhead view of themselves.
Yeah.
And they're trying to still play. And you can see they're just kind of writhing around and struggling. And
that's
can't
quite
find the ball.
The goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Right.
Whoa! Oh, he's going to get it. Oh, the save. Oh, get it in the goal. Get it in the goal. So they're definitely trying to watch the virtual reality.
Virtual reality, huh? Oculus Rift is on its way.
Yeah, it's just not a great use of it. Yeah, so definitely some bad uses along with it.
Right. So we talked all things sports as far as technology. I mean, there's so many more things that we could really delve into. You know, but that is a very, very big chunk of all things sports. And really, we want to hear from you as far as if you've used some of these apps or if you're using sports technology, how are you using it?
Yeah, exactly right. Because I'm kind of curious of whether there's the professional stuff, but there's also the personal stuff.
Exactly. Which brings us to music!
Music! Start of the week! Music! Excellent. Okay, so this week's music site is called Type Drummer.
Okay.
There's a lot of cool ways on websites to be able to make music with your keyboard. This one I think is a really fun one because all you have to do is type different keys on your keyboard.
Ooh.
So, in this box right here, I have pre-made my beat. And all you do is you just type different letters.
All right.
And hold on. Let's listen to it for a second.
Okay.
All right. So now let's delete it all.
Okay.
Okay. Now just press any key. So you don't even know what they're going to be, which is fun. And every key has a different sound, and it'll just loop it. So you can be, making your beats by just pressing random keys and see what you like. Or spell your name, see how that sounds.
How about that, huh?
Yeah, let's hear that jam. Hold on. I want to hear just that jam. Oh, yeah. No, that was the first song I ever heard. Doesn't count. So, yeah, just to give you an idea, if you just do one letter, that's the sound the P makes. That's the sound Nope, nothing makes. And that's the sound that makes.
Very cool.
So yeah, go ahead and just make it all, and then you can share that beat, and it'll send a link to anybody else, and you can share your beat that you made.
Sweet.
Definitely fun.
Go out there and get your top drumming on.
Yeah.
Which brings us to Mr. Elbert's website. And this website of the week is in the show notes, and that is Grantland. And really what I wanted to talk about here, so this is one of my, I misspelled it there. And what I wanted to talk about here is so Grantland is a website that ESPN put on. Basically, this guy runs it, and he's the most popular sports writer right now, and his name is Bill Simmons. And they just did not renew his contract, and it's crazy because what it kind of did is it shows that ESPN, a sports reporting group, is now so intertwined with the entities in which it reports on, like the NFL in this instance, is that they basically took sides with NFL because the sports writer here was very, very critical of the NFL's recent reactions to domestic abuse, performance-enhancing drugs, and the like. And basically, the ESPN, took their number one sports writer, who ran this great website, which has all sorts of awesome writers on the website that they report on sports and culture and events that are going on around the world, but mostly in the U.S. And so he's not going to be renewed, and it's really interesting because ESPN is basically saying in one way or another that they are not a reporting website or a reporting entity anymore, but they are really part of this bigger group.
Yeah, that's tough, and it seems like that's happening with journalism in other places too, and just in regular news reports, and that it's not this objective news thing. They'll have agendas and advertisers, and so it's interesting to hear this one because he was, I don't know too much about him, but he was really a great outspoken guy, kind of bringing what you would want from a sports reporter, and now ESPN is kind of saying we can't have that.
Right.
So that's tough. So anyway, so this is his website that's still going to be happening, right? This is still going on.
Yeah. So at this point, the website is still going to work, but it's going to be interesting to see if it still gets enough traffic, because the majority of the traffic on the website was because of his writing. So hopefully it still goes even without him, because it has so many great writers on it. But it's like one of those things where writing is pushed so much by the personality and kind of their brand that it will be interesting to see if it's still able to survive.
Well, yeah, and what I'm hoping, I guess, is that then Bill Simmons goes on to a different thing that then becomes great because it is a little more authentic or real. So
Yeah,
we'll see.
Exactly.
All right.
And which brings us to our
security segment of the week. China edition. Okay, so now I wanted to mention the Great Firewall of China. I don't know if you've heard of the Great Firewall, but that's actually even older news. And so I want to also bring up the Great Cannon of China.
Okay.
So first, the Great Firewall. So China is a communist country, and they dictate what the people can and can't do in a lot of cases, including the internet.
Right.
So they monitor all traffic that goes into China from all over the world. So even a Google search is censored by China's government.
Right.
So how they do that is kind of amazing with this firewall. So you can learn about that. But the most recent interesting thing is that they've now taken sort of that technology, but also just kind of the concept of China fighting back or doing what they want to do, and now turned it a little on the offensive, where they can do denial of service attacks.
Wow.
So there was a recent one that was an attack on the website GitHub, which stores a lot of open source code. Open source code is a little bit anti what China's talking about, because open source is all about uncensorship.
Right.
And so what they did is they caused this attack to make GitHub go down. And so this Great Cannon can use sort of this firewall to have their ability to then blast a website so much that it just goes down.
Wow.
And again, remember, it's not hacking the website necessarily. They're not stealing data, but they can just get all of their computers and not just their own computers, but their users' computers, the actual Chinese residents, to then do their bidding and like blast this site and take it down.
Right.
So a little crazy. China's not obviously admitting to all these things, but enough people have come to figure it out that this is what's going on.
Whoa.
So watch out. China can do what they want and firewall and blast people.
Right. And we're kind of hoping that happens with TechTown.
Oh,
we kind of welcome the canon of China to be directed at our YouTube video.
It's true. I mean, we're causing such a ruckus. We're changing the world, so bring it on, China.
Yeah, that's right. So we hope that you've enjoyed this week's episode. We talked all things sports, type drummer music, talked about ESPN's rider going down, and then the firewall cannon.
Yeah, the great firewall cannon.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
So we will see you next week here at TechTown. Thank you for viewing, and take care.
Peace.